Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for today's panel discussion. Business is unusual, marketing during C19 and beyond. I want to take a moment to, sorry, I just lost my notes. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm John Hornsby. I am the treasurer of AIGA Asheville, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. In a moment, I'm going to introduce our panelists, but first I wanted to set the stage a little bit. As I was preparing to moderate this discussion, my mind kept coming back to the importance of context. As my colleagues and friends at AIGA Asheville were putting together this event, it was in the context of COVID-19, which was so universal and pervasive into every aspect of our lives. And I believe that our relationship to our context is where we collectively search for meaning. So I think how to market during C19 and beyond, like any time, means being mindful of the context in which we're operating. Our decisions don't occur in a vacuum and should not be enacted blindly. We should strategically plan and also be adaptable at every moment. The meaning and the effect of our actions, I believe, co-arise in the context of our relationship to what has happened, what is happening, and what is about to happen. So I'd like to suggest as we move along that we also consider some of the underlying questions here if we strip away that specificity of COVID-19. Perhaps these might be questions like, how do we market in times of crisis? What are the moral responsibilities of marketing? And how do we use marketing to harness the current context for good? We planned this conversation in the context of the coronavirus as a current and dominant influence in our lives and our livelihoods. And today, coronavirus, marketing, and design, these are the specific lenses through which we're focusing this conversation. But I would be remiss were I not to acknowledge another powerful force of context in which we continuously and for far too long find ourselves. And that being the systematic oppression, abuse, and genocide of people of color over the past centuries and still today. Now, I'm sensitive to the fact that even having this discussion here today is enabled by my white privilege, that I'm able to enjoy in relative safety, the ability to host this conversation in a comfortable little studio. As I sit here on the stolen ancestral lands of the Cherokee people in a country built on enslavement, oppression, mass incarceration, and state-sanctioned brutalization of Black and brown bodies, we're using technology largely made possible by the militarized industrialism of other nations and the exploitation of their people and our collective natural resources, and presenting to an audience that more than likely is disproportionately white. I would ask us all to acknowledge the role that marketing plays in the system and commit to using whatever privilege you have and that we possess together to use that power to change for the better. So before we move on to the conversation, I would like to ask everyone to take a moment of silence to honor these sacrifices and those that I may have neglected to mention. May we choose to commit to move forward from this moment intentionally with honor and respect today and always. Now, just a couple of quick ground rules as we get started. We do have limited time, and we could easily talk about this topic all day. So as a moderator, I may lovingly ask panelists to wrap up your thoughts at any point. So if you see me doing this kind of motion, I would ask you to gracefully wrap it up so we can make sure everybody has time to share their voice. And for our audience, we will have Q&A time at the end. So please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You should see some controls. One of them is a Q&A box. If you could please submit your questions into that box. If your question is directed at a specific panelist, please note that. And then at the end, we will try and work through those as best we can. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. We'll keep the introduction a little brief so that we can focus on our content. But I want to encourage everyone to take some time after this talk to go and visit and support the efforts of those who are joining us here today. So first up, I want to welcome Aisha Adams. If you could feel free to turn on your video as I call you out and your microphones and join us, that would be great. So we have Aisha Adams from Aisha Adams Media joining us. We also have, hi Aisha, welcome. We also have Nicole Hairfield from Moonlight Makers. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Hi.
We have Nathan Jordan from Market Connections. And last but not least is Catherine Campbell of Bright Planning and also Asheville Strong. So welcome, Catherine. I'd also real quick just like to give a shout out to AIGA Asheville Vice President Alyssa Phillips, who's helping to moderate the chat, and also another one of our board members, Gabriel Swinney of Swinney Photography, who has generously allowed me to set up today at the studio he has at the Creative Distillery. So feel free to check them out as well. So let's get started. I'm going to start off, if we could just kind of go around and introduce yourselves, and if you could sort of speak to how COVID-19 has affected your business, 2 months ago when this first started hitting us, and then again compared to now, and how's that has changed for you. And feel free to mention, what the nature of your business and your clients are as well. So if we could start with Aisha, how's COVID affected you, then and now?
I think on a professional level for me, it's been interesting because I work with small business owners who are often in a fragile place in their business anyway. So the need for what I do has been more prevalent as I teach how to market and build community at the same time. So it's been a perfect storm for my business, so to speak. Whereas like my son actually not being able to go on campus for college is like a whole different piece of it, right? So I'm balancing being more extremely busy. I'm balancing more work and the emotional output that comes from my clients and being able to sustain that and to keep them positive in these challenging times.
Thank you. Nicole, could you share how this has affected you and Moonlight Makers?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the co-founder of Moonlight Makers, and we make mostly funny t-shirts and dish towels and Asheville made goods. And we hand screen print everything and design everything in-house. And we also have a storefront and a mobile store that we take to events and festivals. So what happened for us was, since we started as an online business, when this hit, we just didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we're like, okay, we have to close the store. Obviously, we're not going to be running the bus events. So we just pivoted to completely being online 100%, and we still are right now. We haven't opened the store back up, even though we were allowed to. We just didn't think it was worth the risk, and our employees were not wanting to be open either. So we just said, okay, let's just keep it online and see how we do. So also, I just want to say that I have 3 little children, and so does my co-founder. So we were balancing, you know, being home with 6 children, you know, total, and the oldest one is 9. I mean, we have like a baby up to 9. I mean, it is complete chaos. And so, wow, you know, trying to figure out what the PPP means and homeschooling and everything all at once has been just a giant difference in the past few months.
I bet I'm trying to struggle with just 2 at home. I can't imagine 6.
Hey, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you hit 2, it's like, you know,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Nathan, how about you and Market Connections?
Yeah, so I'm Nathan Jordan. I'm the creative director at Market Connections. We're a full service marketing and advertising agency based in downtown Asheville. And, you know, for us, it was really interesting moving into, you know, the quarantine and as the pandemic really ramped up in the US. I was actually traveling internationally on behalf of one of our clients in Canada when things really started, and it was really amazing to see the difference in response in Canada versus the US. It was much more aggressive there, and I was a little concerned that I might not be able to make it back to the US. But luckily I did, and you know, we've had to be very flexible with our approach. You know, as an agency, we work really closely together, and that collaborative creative environment is something that we really thrive on. And so all of us, you know, shifting to working from home and collaborating through outlets like this has been, you know, a big adjustment for us. And then, you know, as it relates to our clients as well, you know, largely having a digital presence, whereas in the past we were collaborating more face-to-face and working with a partner in a more intimate fashion. That's really changed a bit for us as well. And we've also seen, you know, a shift in kind of our role. We've always been marketing and advertising professionals and consultants and assistants in that way, but the different crises that have arisen as a result of COVID has kind of put us in this place of kind of building new systems along with our partners, helping them identify, you know, things that are happening on the ground in their individual communities. We work kind of all throughout the Southeast, so you know, we learned that, you know, the way individual states were responding to the situations affected the way that we were going to market and work with our clients, depending on, you know, where they were located. So it's been a really interesting time, and it seems like initially things were changing almost daily, and our needs to adjust messaging were changing daily. And we were used to, you know, responding to deadlines, but this has been, it's had a different undertone to it. There's been this need to strike a really fine line between helping our clients maintain a brand presence and hopefully be as profitable as possible, but also be responsible with our messaging and making sure that our messaging is appropriate. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, how about you with Bright Planning, and then obviously Asheville Strong sort of arose as a response to the COVID situation. So maybe you could speak to that as well.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. So my name is Catherine Campbell. I'm the owner and director of Bright Planning, which is a marketing and PR agency for eco-friendly and socially responsible businesses. We primarily work with food, beverage, restaurants, and sustainable retail lifestyle brands. So it's, and we're also a boutique agency. So we don't have multiple offices. We cap our clientele and the number of projects and clients that we're working with at a time. So when COVID hit in mid-March, as you can imagine, all of our clients are people who have to have their doors open and everybody has brick and mortar locations. And so all of our clients had to basically shutter overnight. And I will be totally honest with you that we lost about 50% of our operating revenue and cash flow overnight as well, because our clients had to pause their contracts with us because they didn't have money coming in. So they said, we'll be back, but we don't know when we can come back. And so it was great that we had built such great long-term relationships with our clients. And we said, hey, look, we totally understand if you need to pause your contracts, that's fine. But if you need help along the way, if you need to ask us questions, if you just need to pick up the phone, we'll be here for you. Like, it's not a billable hour. Just call us if you need us. And so that was the most important decision that we had to make, was as half of our business came to a standstill, how we were going to help to serve the clients who were still active and help them pivot to continue bringing in revenue in creative ways. And then also still being there for our clients as they needed us, as they were coming back in, because it was going to be pretty unpredictable. Fortunately, though, we have, as an agency, we had some runway. I only had to furlough one employee. And this gave us a chance to, as well, we had an online training program sitting on our back burner for like almost 2 years. Like, it was just sitting there. And so we thought, well, we have some extra time on our hands and our team can pitch in. And so we're finishing that and getting ready to launch that actually. So that's been a big thing. But yeah, we found that both with our clients and with our agency, you know, I think, you know, Nathan spoke to this a little bit too. It was a matter of becoming more flexible, but also incredibly efficient in many ways. I think we helped ourselves and our clients and their customers strip down to what was necessary and think about, you know, what's necessary, what's the most efficient, taking away a lot of bells and whistles to marketing that really didn't need to be happening right now, and just thinking about how can you connect the most directly with your customers in the most sincere way, and just and pare down how much you're marketing and doing so that you're just doing a few marketing tactics at a time. And then really quickly about Asheville Strong, which some of you might have heard of. At the same time that this was all happening and everyone was shutting down, there was a big conversation around gift cards. And so we saw a lot of businesses that were talking about, oh, buy gift cards because we're probably gonna have to shut down, or, you know, they were already seeing that decline in foot traffic. And so we noticed that there was just no central directory, no central conversation where this was happening. It was all scattered over social media. So I just said, hey, this is a way that we can help our community. I built the website in a day, launched it at 7 p.m. that night. And by that Sunday morning, which was like March 15th, we had just dozens of business submissions for gift card listings coming in. And it just, I don't know what happened. It's like one of those things where it's the right moment and the right time and the right message and the right domain. I don't know. And so it just became larger than itself and has grown larger than itself into not just a gift card directory that was actually bringing in revenue for these small businesses. And these weren't people just that we represented. These were people all over Asheville, Brevard, Hendersonville that were listing with us. And it's grown into this huge community movement. We've officially formed a nonprofit, and we're in the middle of forming our crisis relief fund for small business owners that will operate year round. And yeah, it's just taken on this amazing life of its own. We have an official board now too. So it's kind of amazing what can come out of a crisis. At least I've just seen so many beautiful moments happening between clients and customers and businesses and volunteers. It's just, I don't know, there are no words to describe the beauty of that particular moment when you see people coming together just to simply help one another.
That's wonderful. And yes, sometimes it takes a crisis to bring people together. So how are you balancing both for yourselves and for those of you who work, you know, on the behalf of clients too, how are you balancing that bringing in revenue while being empathetic and empathizing with where your customers are at and navigating all of that? Maybe you could share some specific examples around that. And we'll go backwards. So start with Catherine and then go back the other way.
So do you want me to talk about how my agencies bring in revenue, or would you want me to talk a little bit more about how I'm helping my clients bring in revenue?
I guess, you know, whichever one you want to speak to, but I guess I'm interested in that balance between, you know, you have to market, you still have to, you know, bring in business, but, you know, to Nathan's comment, like, how do you do that in a responsible and empathetic way that doesn't come across as tone deaf or, you know, inappropriate?
It's, it is a day-by-day, case-by-case basis, I think. But I know that's not what everybody in the audience wants to hear right now. It's like, here's this template, here, just plug and play. I wish that was the case, but I think what's really difficult right now is a lot of our clients, a lot of our business owners are, they're terrified. They're just terrified. They're terrified and they're overwhelmed. And I think what's really hard is that the world and the way that we have been taught to market is demanding that we move at this crazy pace and have to be on point all the time, 24/7, and be ready with the perfect message, you know, at a moment's notice. When the reality is that everybody, our business owners included, are experiencing this collective trauma. And you have to slow down and take a deep breath and actually build in that extra time throughout your day just to simply be and deal with that trauma and to heal and to make space to brainstorm and find a way forward in a way that's sustainable. Because I think right now what's hard is needing to bring in money and needing to bring in money like yesterday. And needing to make all these different marketing messages that you then have to pivot, you know, from moment to moment to meet regulations and to meet scared customers who are wondering what you're doing to protect them, and to meet, you know, other crises, and then also just to meet this huge moment of profound and way overdue change that we're dealing with right now as well. And so there's so much happening with business owners, and so they're like, how do I market in a way that's responsible and make money at the same time? And I think it comes down to a few things, which are simplifying your message. And one piece of advice that I've always given this piece of advice is that the best way to reflect back on your business is the way that you focus outward. Like, this isn't a time for you to be talking about yourself. It's a time for you to be talking about your community and everybody around you and supporting them as much as possible. The way that we talk about the world around us and the way that we treat the world around us naturally reflects back upon our business. So I just ask people to pause and think about how can you shape your message to focus more outwardly on the world and helping as much as you can, just being of service, being of value, being a knowledge base, being an expert. All of those things right now are needed much more than necessarily a promotion or a coupon or, you know, that a discount. Like, it's how can you be of service in your particular skill set? You don't need to be everything to everyone, right? But like, that's the best way to attract back your customer base, remind them of who you are, put your customers at ease, and the revenue will follow. So just, you know, focusing outward on the world and being helpful to the world, the revenue does come back to you. You can generate revenue that way. So I'm gonna let everybody else talk now.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Nathan, what are your thoughts on this balance between, you know, marketing and empathizing?
Yeah, and I'll echo some of the things that Catherine, you know, already said. You know, as things began to ramp up with COVID, we also had clients who not only requested to cancel projects or contracts, but that we also advised to go completely silent, because there was nothing that they could really say in those initial days that would benefit them in any way. So that was kind of unheard of. And you know, we actually work a lot in sort of the tourism industry and tourism adjacent industries, things like mountain biking and fly fishing and rock climbing and outfitters that work in that space. And you know, we had to really think with them about how to be mindful of what was happening within their communities. This is, again, to Catherine's point, on the ground, and engage with them on this new level and say, okay, what's happening in your community right now? Are there organizations that are coming together, like Asheville Strong, for instance, and engage with those. If they're relevant to your business, you need to engage with them. And as an agency, you know, we offered pro bono services to some of those initiatives that arose as a result of COVID-19. And then, you know, there were other things that were pre-existing as initiatives, like the sentiment of buy local, that are now even more important, you know. And within the tourism world, we do a lot of marketing in Brevard and Transylvania County. So waterfall safety is a huge part of what we're doing. And as a result of COVID-19, there's decreased resources within the forest. People are even more responsible for their own safety. So we're re-amplifying things like waterfall safety. And at the same time, in the early days, we were doing things that were so unheard of, like creating tourism campaigns that say, don't come, don't visit. I never thought I would find myself in that place. It was insane. And how do you say that eloquently? You know, it's almost an impossible task, but we did it. And, you know, as a result of all of that thinking through the tourism lens specifically, we created a campaign. We were thinking about, you know, weeks out as reopening began to happen. You know, what's that going to look like for the tourism visitor, and how do we need to reach them, and what do they need to hear? And, you know, like I said, you know, initiatives like waterfall safety and leave no trace, which were already, and sustainability, which were already big parts of some of our tourism clients' identities, needed to get back out there in the market, along with, you know, some of these best practices as they relate to COVID and, you know, maintaining a 6-foot distance and things like that. So we developed a campaign called Explore Responsibly, that created a series of posters that were just fun, infographic-y, icon-based, you know, designs that we shared out with all of our, you know, tourism partners, so that we could distribute that message. And it was really well received. You know, it was a way to say, you know, here's what we expect of you as a visitor, but it's a polite and engaging way of doing that. And it's sort of a explore when the time is right type model. So it helped us walk that really fine line between the promotional and the responsible that worked really well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting challenge to tourism promotion to stay away. But you're still communicating, so you're still like maintaining brand awareness by saying the appropriate thing in the marketplace. So Nicole, how has this balance happened? You know, you have sort of this fun, quirky, cheeky brand, and which is a little different than you know this the agency commentaries. So how has that affected you as a retail brand?
Yeah, that was really challenging because Claire and I, my business partner and I, we really try to just have fun with our platform. Like we just, on social media, it's just all funny things and it's all lighthearted. And we're trying to think of who our clients are and why they look at our social media, And I think people go there just to laugh. They want to see something funny. It's lots of, people with children. It's lots of parents with they really love, our jokes about having kids or, you know, things like that. And so we were thinking, okay, what can we say to everyone to make them, I don't know, feel happy? And we're not feeling happy right now either, you know? So it was a really, really challenging time to know what to put out there as your voice, because I mean, everyone was feeling, you know, just, I don't even know what the word is, but like the rug was pulled out from underneath them, you know, and we had laid off our entire staff. And so we just started to become, you know, a little more transparent and just say like, you know, we laid off our staff. We're going to get through this. We're going to be fine. Like, we know we're going to be fine. You know, don't worry about us. We didn't really want people buying from us because they felt sorry for us in any way, because we knew that like the last thing you need to spend money on right now is a gift or, you know, one of our items. It's not a need, it's not a necessity. And so we didn't want to make, you know, it was such a fine line, because like exactly what everyone's saying, you know, it was just a real challenge, and it still is right now, especially with the new things happening in our community and all over the country. You know, you just want to be so sensitive, and you know that people are going through such hard things. So, I mean, we've done weeks where we've posted nothing on purpose just to, you know, give a voice to the other, you know, people who are really trying to put their voice out there, and for reasons we really believe in and feel strongly about. But some of the things that we felt like we could use our platform to do was donate to charities and organizations that were, you know, obviously in the forefront of what was going on. So we donated to No Kid Hungry. We designed 6 kind of quarantine funny shirts, donated the profits, 100% of the profits to No Kid Hungry. And then recently we've done a couple new shirts that are anti-racist sort of shirts, and they're not funny, but they're a little more serious, which is different than what we do. But we're donating 100% of the profits for that to Black Lives Matter. And we're just trying to use our, you know, followers on our platform as a voice to sort of help others right now. And we've also done some giveaways just to, you know, we're doing discounts on things like these mystery bags where you can get, you know, we have things in our store, and if you pay $30, you get 3 different shirts of, you know, a particular size that you pick, and you don't know what you're going to get. You know, we're just trying to do some fun things and help people have a little bit more fun with it. But that has been, I do most of our social media, and that has been probably the hands down hardest part for me, has been what do we put out there as our voice right now? And I've had to have help with it, because, you know, I've had to ask Claire, okay, do you feel like you can do something today instead? Because I'm not sure, you know? So I wish I was more of an expert on that, but I think that we are all learning how to be experts on it during this time. You know, I don't think anyone went to school for how to market during a crisis, right? So we're all learning.
I think it's a good point. It's a very fair point. We're all figuring this out together, and that's why we're trying to have conversations like this to work through this. So Aisha, how about you on this balance of, you know, bringing in your revenue, empathizing with your community leader, you have a media organization, you're very much involved in the community, so you have your pulse on that, I feel like. How's that affected you?
So for me, when I'm teaching marketing strategies in the classroom or on panels like this, the one thing I'm trying to teach people is they have both an audience as well as customers. And so for me, it was looking at how do I reach my audience? Who are the people who are watching me and who are talking to me? And so the first thing I did was be emotionally honest. And I went online because I work in Asheville, and let's face it, our industry is white, right? That I've been in marketing here, and I really don't know anyone on this panel. There's probably no other Black people here, but grateful to be in the space, grateful to be seen as a leader in my community, grateful to be in the fold of this community. So the first thing I did was talk to you guys. So the first thing I did was say how to move forward and make an impact without just posting Black Lives Matter, because the last thing I wanted to do was see people in my community not be sensitive and not understand how to move forward, because I believe in marketing, I believe in my industry, and I believe in my community. So that was the first thing I did. And for those who are on the call who are hoping to get that kind of information today, I gave 5 tips. One was share your physical resources. 2, perhaps adopt a color-led organization, become a fiscal sponsor, hire people of color at a thriving wage, and then simply donate. So I started with my audience, the people that I am in community with, and I started speaking to them. The second thing I did was I made a message to my white friends, and I said, hey, please stop inboxing me and tell me how much you hate racism. Here's a whole bunch of things that you can do to make me feel better. And so I just got really in the nitty gritty with my audience, and I was already there because this is the kind of marketing that I do. And so as I am teaching people how to market, the first thing I'm telling them is it's about community. And so as we look at community, who's in our community, who are our audience, who's our target market, then who's our ideal client, and still trying to serve all those buckets, for me has been phenomenal. And I didn't think about the money. I didn't have to think about the money because unfortunately I'm Black. So this is a survival for me. It's not about like money or job. At this point where we are in our country, it's survival. And so I had to do that to survive, and had to do that so people who believe in the mission and the vision and the values of Black Lives Matter could survive. And in solving that problem, because so many agencies reached out to me and said, oh, I'm so glad you did this because my clients are asking me what to do and I don't know what to do. And connecting people to resources, the money just came. In fact, someone contacted me and said, hey, I want to give you a grant. And then we matched it, and my community matched it within 24 hours. So money is going to come when you solve a problem. I like to tell my son, you know, the bigger problem you solve, the more money you're going to make anyway. And as much as people are hurting for money, they're also not hurting for money. And if you're solving a problem and you're really getting in there with them and you're boots on the ground in community and you understand what their needs are and their values are, they're going to need you and they will pay you, because this is a capitalistic society. That's what we do when people solve our problems.
Thank you for that. That's great advice. And I want to, in the interest of time, because I do want to make sure we leave some time for the Q&A, I'm going to combine some of the other questions we have and let you guys sort of just choose how you want, which piece of that you want to grab onto and talk about. But I'm curious about how you think your customers are feeling now, today. You know, we talked a little bit about, you know, two months ago to now. Obviously, when we started planning this, the whole context has changed as well. And there's, you know, long overdue, a lot of attention on racial disparity. And that's a huge effect on what's happening now as well. So, you know, either, you know, within the context or the combined context of either of those, how do you think your customers are feeling right now? How is that affecting your marketing decisions? And do you have any suggested, like, definitely you should be doing this kind of thing, or you should not be doing this kind of thing, that businesses should be aware of as we move forward from here? And maybe we'll just go back around again to start with Aisha and circle back through.
All right, so I definitely think that if you have a product or service that is good for community, that solves a problem, you should be marketing it. Right now, people, we have a trifecta of people being out of work, COVID, protests, and people need problem solved because they're overwhelmed. So if you have a product or service that solves a problem, the best thing you can do is transform your customer's life by sharing it. I would say that the next part of this is being aware that just because the news media is projecting one reality, that doesn't mean that's the reality of your community. So one of the things that I did was put online. Just one morning, I got up and I said, I want to market my product. There are 22 million Americans out of work, and I want to market my product, but I feel guilty. And the overwhelming majority of my community said, please market to me. Please tell me what you have. Will you sell to me? And so my community asked me to continue to market. So I felt really confident in what I was doing. Again, just having that direct connection with community, speaking to them. That's in your private Facebook groups. That's why we have them, right? To conduct market research. Talking to people who are in your, advisory board that you set up to kind of market your markets to preliminary in your A/B split testing. Those are some of the things that you can do just to make sure that your audience is ready. But I will say my audience stayed ready. And people who I didn't think were in my audience after this are ready. They're calling me like, how can I help? What can I do? So I really think it's about service. I feel like once you're really serving community and not just doing marketing plans and not just doing like, clicks for whatever, like when you're really marketing and building community, I think it's very easy to know what your community wants.
Nicole, do you want to speak about how you think your clients are feeling right now and what you're feeling you should or should not do about that, or other retailers who might be in a similar situation?
Sure. Yeah. What Aisha was saying is so intelligent. I can listen to her talk all day because she has so much information that I actually am seeking. But I do feel that, our clients online social media is mainly how we do our marketing, really. I mean, we do our best events in person, which is like, we get to meet so many people, and that is an amazing way for us to market out in our community. But with our doors closed and just basically having an online voice only right now, our followers and customers are just all over. We sell mainly on Amazon, Etsy, our website. We do wholesale all over the country on a couple of different platforms. And so we have, really wide audience. And I think that, just because, like what Aisha was saying, just because the news is saying one thing, it doesn't mean that everyone is feeling that out of all of those people. And so I have a hard time remembering that because I think about how I'm feeling, and not just how like other people might be feeling. And a lot of people haven't lost their jobs, and a lot of people want to buy a cute gift for someone and have it shipped to them. So I have to take away my sensitivity sometimes and just think of how other people may be feeling. But our community, our online follower community has definitely been, they've been following more, they've been liking more, they've been more engaged. So they are looking for, us to have more put out there. And so, like I said, we took a break from social media just to pause to kind of give, other platforms a chance. But now we are joining back in starting yesterday. And I do think that it's important to keep putting your product and service out there because people do want to continue life as normal in some way,
Yes, I think we would all like some of that. Nathan, how about you? How do you think your customers are feeling, and what are some of the kind of unique opportunities that this moment's presenting that you should do, or conversely should potentially avoid?
Yeah, a big part of what we do just in regular times is lean really heavily on market research. And we found that, scouring over that and doing that more often has been a huge benefit to us. The market's shifting now more rapidly than in any time really in recent history that I can remember. And so we've paid a lot of attention to that customer feedback and seeing what the trends are, whether it relates to COVID or to the current situation. We've had to force ourselves to be more nimble and try and meet folks where they are. There are a lot of folks who are still under quarantine. There are a lot of folks who are out of work, and they're increasingly in the digital space. They are streaming more. They're spending more time on social media. So we've shifted a lot of our marketing to those areas and away from things that aren't necessarily as nimble and readily modified, like print advertising, for instance. So we've seen a huge pivot in that direction. You know, being a full service agency, we place media across the spectrum. We're doing radio and you know, print and a little bit of everything. And we've seen, you know, this huge shift toward digital because it's so nimble, and we can focus on shifting things when they need to change. And, you know, as a way, an opportunity now, I think, and something that all brands should do, and our agency has done this, and we've worked with our clients to do this as well, is just take advantage of this time to really take a deep dive into your brand itself, and think about, you know, what is your mission statement? What are your brand values? And do you have brand values? You know, and how do I need to modify my brand to speak as authentically as possible and make sure that my messaging is focused and driven and authentic, rather than, you know, stumbling and just kind of following, you know, trends blindly. Really defining some of those things for your brand, and you know, avoiding some of those pitfalls that people are seeing now, where everybody's sort of repeating the same thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys have maybe seen the COVID video where everybody's saying, you know, this unprecedented time, the same somber piano music behind a TV ad. You know, if the marketing minds behind those brands would take some time to really look deeper into the foundational elements behind the brands, they would be able to speak more authentically, you know, no matter what. So yeah, that's the best advice I feel like I can offer right now. Thank you.
Yeah, if there's ever a time to reevaluate your brand values, I would say this is it. If you've been waiting, this has been the time to take a look at that. I know I certainly have. Catherine, what could you say about, you know, empathizing with your customers and what to do or not do about that right now?
I feel like if you're even thinking about or currently using the phrase unprecedented times anywhere in any of your marketing materials, just get rid of it, burn it, throw it in the trash. Nobody wants to see those two words ever again. And pardon my French, but maybe we can just get real and say during these shitty times, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of noise happening right now. And I think one of the things that we have to do, like, so when we're going to our brands and to our clients, yeah, Sarah, definitely, we're all in this together. We need to just get rid of that as well. And yeah, it's, there's a lot there. So one thing that we are asking is we're asking why with every decision that we make. So I think a lot of people are preoccupied with what they need to say, where they need to be, how they need to be there, how often do they need to show up and stuff, but nobody's really asking the question, why am I marketing? Like, why am I putting out this message? Why am I marketing this way? Why am I reaching out to this particular people? Why am I not reaching this community? Why are we not doing better giving back to our community? Or why does our service not solve this problem yet? Or why does our product not solve this problem? So I think like people aren't asking why enough. And so so you just need to take a breath and really start to curate your marketing decisions. So the 3 tactics that we're kind of addressing with people are, 1, simplifying your marketing systems, getting rid of any bells and whistles right now. Drop your Google Ads budget. I know some people are going to probably wince at that. You know, drop that that like long-term media buy if you need to, and really focus on allowing some simplified, like just that room and that energy and that budget to be able to be a little bit more flexible. But the one thing you cannot drop is consistency. And I think that's a huge thing, is that like we want you to be marketing consistently and to consistently show up for your people and your community. But at the same time, be flexible in the tactics that you're using. So and be flexible in your message, and just always go back to, why do we need to send this email right now? Why do we need to post right now? Why is it important to update our website for this? And then on that ground level, I think another thing that's kind of fallen by the wayside for every single one of our clients and for other businesses I've seen is making sure your business and your SEO and your directories are constantly updated, because that's been a huge point of confusion, and a lot of you'll be like losing a lot of audience and customers if you are updating your stuff over here one place and just assume your whole audience is on Instagram right now. Don't get me wrong, social has like skyrocketed through the roof, and that is where everybody is spending their time right now. But you also have those people who are looking at your Google business listing and are like, wait, they're still closed due to COVID, and you're over here on Instagram pointing, we're open and come by for takeout and all that stuff. So make sure that your marketing is consistent across the board, be flexible in the tactics that you're using, simplify where you can, and then ask why behind every single marketing decision that you're making, so that you're not just taking up space, and you're really leveraging your message and how you're solving problems in the community that you serve.
For that advice. That's great. There is a question that's come in here through the chat from Sarah, Sarah Benoit, JB Media. She says, as a marketing and communications professional and an entrepreneur, I feel like we're all being pushed to really get clear with our values as brands, which you just spoke to. And then what is one thing you're doing or saying to clients to get them to embrace this being more real, honest, deeper way of doing business? Some brands and leaders struggle with being more vulnerable or emotional because the old business paradigm does not really support this thinking. And Aisha, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, sure. Am I unmuted? Okay, good. I think that for me, I really like what she said about asking why. I don't ask it that kindly. I always ask, like, why should people care? So typically when I'm sitting with somebody and they're like, I'm gonna do, and I'm like, okay, why should people care about this? And then that really answers the question often if they should be posting it or not. And I also feel like the other thing that I'm doing to sort of get people to embrace the real is asking them, what is it they're really trying to say? Because I find that right now with everything going on, with people being so overwhelmed, that a lot of what's coming out is the top part of what they really want to get to, going into depth. And so asking people, even in their consistency, to be consistently with purpose, like be consistent, but with purpose. So just really making sure people are in line with their mission, visions, and values of their brand, and in line with the mission and vision and values of their audience, and really providing value, solving problems, and educating.
So we're down to just 5 minutes here. And I think that, to the point to Sarah's question, there's been like a traditional mindset in marketing that like, you have to be strong and perfect and the expert and no chinks in your armor, and don't ever show that you're, less than the perfect solution for every problem. And I think that's, as a community at large has been getting replaced by the realization that there's a powerfulness that comes with being willing to be vulnerable and being willing to draw back the curtain a little bit and put your vulnerable self out there. Do any of you want to speak to that piece at all? And especially in times like now, how that could be a beneficial approach to marketing?
I'll just say as a solopreneur, we only have 5 minutes. So I'll just, for me, when I got really real with my audience, it was the best thing that could happen to me. I have not been using a big marketing budget, but when I got real, I got 100 shares on my video because people are looking for something real and something tangible. So I think that pushing yourself to tell the truth is going to be It takes a lot of practice. As Sarah said, Aisha's the queen of realness right now, but I try to be the queen of realness all the time. And so I have like done the work of hiding under the bed after I've said something that I thought would hurt people's feelings. I've done the work of crying because people have not received my message as it is intended. And so after years of honing my message and honing my relationships and community, it's beneficial. And I would just say it's a great time to start that for any business right now.
I don't see, many Q&As coming in here. So we're coming right up on the 1 o'clock hour. So it looks like we'll be able to wrap this up on time. Is there anything else that anybody's burning to share before we bring it to a close? I'll just open it up. If you have any final thoughts that you didn't get a chance to touch on that you want to before we bring it to a close.
I just want to add 2 cents to piggyback on that, how to show vulnerability, like just some specific tactics, because and thinking about just connecting really authentically with your people. I think you need to do what we call like just scaling the unscalable, which is defined by how you define it, really, like how you feel that way. But for some business owners, that's, literally picking up the phone and calling some of your customers just to say hi and checking in and like, is there anything that we can do for you? Another thing is just sending personalized emails, not like email blasts all the time. Definitely video is really big right now. Like people want to see the humans behind your company, or even if you're a one woman, one man, one non-binary shop, like just showing yourself and showing your face on video and getting used to it. Throughout this thing, I hate video. So through COVID was a huge practice run for me of showing up with no makeup, crazy hair, cats meowing in the background, my son screaming at Fortnite, like just being real, but at the same time still being of service and offering advice. And then I would say lastly, just demonstrating behind the scenes, like what your business is doing to keep customers feeling safe and secure and seen and heard and valued. So it's not just enough to just like post a novel link thing of all the COVID conditions that you're doing, or to post like 20 Black Lives Matter related posts through your Instagram stories. Like people are gonna get tired of that crap. Like it's important to offer those resources in easily downloadable formats, and to point them to places where if they wanna see the 25 steps that you're taking to secure your shop safely. But they also want to see videos behind the scenes of staff wearing masks, social distancing, getting their temp, checked at the door. They want to see people tired at the end of their shift. They want to see you actually like handing over the mic of your brand to people of color in your business. Like, just like actually doing the work there and showing up in in that vulnerable way, I think is really important right now. So don't just settle for a landing page with the 25 steps of how you're handling COVID right now, but really like demonstrating that on a daily basis.
All right, thanks. Nicole or Nathan, do you have anything else that you wanted to add quickly, or?
I think the only other thing I would add to what Catherine just said is helping people understand too, and amplifying the things with which your business currently aligns, like, an Asheville Strong. We did a similar thing down in Brevard called Transylvania Tomorrow, and helping people understand that they really vote with their dollars. And if they want businesses to stick around that they love, they really need to invest in those businesses and those initiatives that are going to help those businesses continue to exist. So, it's a little bit of an untraditional way of marketing, of saying, vote with your dollar and support these entities that support your values and that you love, that you want to continue and go on. So I think that's the only other thing that I would add.
Yeah, I just want to say, one of the things I've been doing for my clients too is there's so many stories of resilience, so many stories of success. I guess about once every 2 weeks or so, I'll send my clients an article about someone who became a millionaire in the last 2 months. how did they do it? What's going on? And that this is not the end of your business. This is not the end of what you have going on, because there are people who are successful. So I've been trying to do that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just going to say that the advice from everyone has been amazing, and I'm so honored that I could have been here with you all and during this time, and we're all learning from each other. I just think this is so amazing. And I do think that being vulnerable is where our success has come from. We have never really pretended to be anything different. And I know that that's what we were saying, that marketing generally is like, you're perfect and everything looks perfect and there's no mistakes. And, you know, you're an expert at everything. And, you know, that's just not the case when you're starting off a business with nothing. And, you know, we've been doing it for 5 years and we were 2 moms in a kitchen. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. And we've always been very vulnerable with that information and very transparent. And I think that that is why we've had success and why we still continue to have success, is that people connect with the story. And so if you can put your story out there and really show like your humanity, I think that that is probably the best thing that I know that we have done. And it's the easiest because you're just being yourself, you know?
Right. Well, thank you again to all 4 of you for taking the time to join us today and share your expertise and thoughts. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining us as well. In the chat there was the links to all of our panelists. And again, I do encourage you, they're here voluntarily sharing their information with us. Please do go and check them out after this and look for ways to support them as well going forward. So with that, I will bring it to a close and thank you all again for joining us, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.